of the big issues that a lot of Zambians don't seem to understand. How much are we actually paying? Are there any conditions that are attached to our debt being restructured?
Okay.
Yeah.
I would try and summarize that because again, giving too many details.
No, I understand.
Then people again say you are confusing the listeners. Yeah. Unfortunately, these are technical things, and the more detail you go into, the more confusing they become. So let me provide a summary that I think will be understood by most people. And the summary is that in the absence of debt restructuring, if we had not achieved this year, 2024, we would have been paying more than $5 billion in debt servicing. Where did this come from? Partly from some money that we owe multilaterals like the World Bank, African Development Bank, but these are concessional lenders. But a big part of it is from those Euro bonds that were issued by the previous government. There was a Euro bond that was issued in 2012 worth 750 million. It should have been payable, the whole 750 million should have been payable in 2022. We didn't pay it because we had no means to pay it. Then there was another borrowing through another bond in 2014 worth $1 billion. So $1 billion was due for payment this year. Then there's interest, because remember, we stopped servicing this debts in 2020. So there was accumulated interest on these borrowings in excess of about $880 million. So when you combine all this plus the other debts that we had from commercial banks, other governments, this year we should have been paying out about $5 billion. Our total budget in Zambia now, if you convert it into US dollars, is about $7.5 billion. Now, what would have remained of the budget if out of $7.5 billion national budget, you spend $5 billion only to debt service? So only $2.5 billion would have remained. So it means that we would have failed to pay salaries, would have failed to hire teachers, would be failing to buy medicines, would be failing to do any infrastructure of any kind. We would be failing to disperse CDF to the rural areas so that children can go to school for free, classrooms can be constructed, desks for schools can be made. All those would have been impossible if we were to pay $5 billion out of a budget of 7.5 only to service the debt. So as a result of the structuring, that $5 billion reduces to $500 million. So this is something that we can do. And therefore, we can now resume debt servicing at an affordable pace and still be able to do those good things that we do to our citizens. So in summary, this is the nature of the restructuring. The restructuring is about pushing most of this debt, stretching it out. Some of it is far away, is almost 30 years, 29 years of paying this debt, which means that every year what you pay is small. So this is what has happened. It gives us the cash flow. It gives us the relief. It gives us the possibility of mending our position in the financial world and while not strangling our citizens for lack of services. Finally, let me say that we as Zambians, we need to change our perspectives on the meaning of borrowing and paying back. Because yes, some of your colleagues say, why didn't they ask for a total write-off? In the rest of the world, debt is an honorable thing. You borrow, it is expected without any question that you must pay back. Okay? Especially among the Asian colleagues, the Chinese, the Japanese, and so forth. It is expected that when you borrow, you must pay back without and failure. So when you get into the habit of borrow, you fail to pay. You are assisted. You borrow again, you fail to pay. You are assisted. You are not putting yourself in the correct position in this world. And I gave the example the other day. 2015, this is like we're facing now. One of the solutions then, under that government, the PF government, was to buy electricity from a ship off the coast of Mozambique, which had a massive generator, transmitting that power through Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. Ideally, when we have a situation like this, we should be going back to say, here was the solution. Okay, we didn't like what you did at the time because the tariff was too expensive without justification. But let's talk. Let's reduce that tariff to a reasonable level. Let's continue to do business. But because we did not own our debts, we still owe that ship company $90 million. So how do you go back to them and say, give us electricity again? This is the importance of being credible, the importance of borrowing and paying back, because if you don't do that, you close your doors to further opportunities in the future. And this is why even our local institutions, GB Development Bank of Zambia, who didn't know what happened. People borrowed money, they didn't pay back. The end result, the bank collapses. Those who are coming behind who should be assisted to borrow also, they have no chance. Other financial institutions that are going through. So this is why even at the international level, we must accept that when you have borrowed, we must pay back. It is up to us now to reorganize our economy, reorganize our lives, so that when we borrow, we pay.